Welcome to Inside the Program, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. We're attacking this with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. I'm Joe Cook, dressed up as I always am as Jim Harbaugh on Halloween. That's Eric Naleen. Thank you for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, head to InsideTexas.com, join for just $1. It's Nick Saban's birthday, and he wants you to go join Inside Texas. Sign up for just $1. Use that link in the description, or use that QR code right by Arch Manning's precious noggin. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the coming minutes, but can't wait to see everybody over there on Inside Texas. And Eric, you posted some team notes over on Inside Texas earlier today. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that you went over, including Arch Manning or Matthew Caldwell, who will be the latest on Michael Taft in the safety position, team just being glad to be back home, and scouting all three phases of Vanderbilt. So got to start under center with the quarterback position. Arch Manning still going through protocol. Matthew Caldwell capable, but what do we think is going to happen with quarterback on Saturday?
Well, speaking of quarterback, I'm still upset that you didn't run Kaepernick against the Ravens inside the 10. They probably win that Super Bowl. That was a big miss. As far as quarterback this week, much more important now. There's a lot of mystery. I think the storyline here is that when Texas was playing OU, Sark said you got to prepare for their system, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's Mateer or Hawkins. You just have to know the system on defense. Now he's saying it doesn't matter who the starter is. The system is the system. It could be Arch, it could be Caldwell, and things are going to run pretty much the same, which, it's coach speak. But based on the indications I'm getting, that there's just a lot more strategy to these coaches behind the scenes than they let on publicly, because there's a lot of talk about Arch starting, but then there's also a lot of indications about Caldwell starting. So I think there's a lot of intentional misdirection. Yesterday I felt one way. Today I feel a little bit different about it. I'll probably have a note, sometime in the morning and have a little more detail. But if they want the mystery, who am I to try to mess that up? I do know that they feel a lot of confidence in Matthew Caldwell. Obviously, a lot of fans do as well. He's got a small sample size, but he's got ice in his veins when he comes into the game. Talk about the guy you want pinch hitting. They think he's talented. He's got leadership intangibles. He's got the respect of the team. He plays with confidence. And they feel like they can construct an offense around him. That's the reason they brought him in. We talked about last spring how the backup quarterback was yet to be decided. And that was more with Matthew Caldwell in mind. They like what he can do. RPO game. There's a lot of things that he can do within the Arch offensive construct. So they feel confident either way.
One thing, I'm glad you brought up the Mateer aspect of it, because Venables spoke pretty clearly and plainly after the Red River shootout about the lack of practice time that Mateer had, and that being what affected him more than the thumb. So I'm curious if maybe that's something that they consider as they look at Vanderbilt and then have the bye on the other side.
Well, I think that's obviously a consideration. Matthew Caldwell got the bulk of the ones. KJ Lacey got the bulk of the twos this week. March is going through protocol, and it's not his typical week of preparation. And Caldwell looked good. So I do think if it comes down to it, they have they got a lot of confidence in Caldwell, and you know what? They even like Lacey if it came down to that as well.
Lots of good notes from Sark on the rest of the quarterback depth chart this week. We'll talk a little bit about the other number 16, and that is Michael Taft. Of course, he missed the Mississippi State game as a result of a surgery on his hand. What's going on with him as he prepares to try to play this game and maybe get ready for the rest of the season as well?
Yeah, well, he's practiced. I expect him to dress out. There's going to be mystery there too. These are two very important players on the team. Early in the season, I said Michael Taft is probably a top 15 college football player in the country. That's not draft prospect. That's pure college football player. I think his PFF grades are the highest for safety, not even close. And so it'll be another bummer if he doesn't play. I think it was worse that he didn't play against Mississippi State in their passing attack than it would be against Vanderbilt. Yes, you have to be smart and disciplined, which he certainly is, but the passing attack isn't nearly as dangerous this week. Again, when you talk about coach confidence, they've got a lot of confidence in Xavier Filsaime, who's been playing more and more this season. Obviously, there's Jelani McDonald, and D. Will has a lot of experience. I'm not sure what's going to happen entirely. It's tough to keep that guy off the field. I do know that there are legitimate risks to him playing this week. they would love to get that guy to the bye week. So that's something I would just keep in mind.
You had mentioned, I think, in your notes about this being the game last year where we saw a lot of Jelani McDonald at star. When I think about that position, whether it is Jelani McDonald or whether it is Grayson Littleton, all I think about is the matchup with the tight end with Eli Stowers. And, honestly, I feel good about both those guys matching up against him, as good as Stowers is.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has tons of respect for Stowers and just the way they use their tight end as well, and they use a lot of tight ends. It's Stowers is the headliner, but they have some other good ones as well. Yeah, that's the thing. Jelani and the power run, the run game. Jelani's going to hold up a little bit better at Grayson as far as covering the tight end. Maybe Jelani holds up a little bit more like playing in the post in basketball. You want a little bit of size matchup. But yeah, Grayson is a dog, and he can cover pretty much anybody. Jelani had a really good game. It was his first career start. He had a really good game last year. I would not be surprised by seeing both those guys at that position. And again, that ties back into having confidence in both Xavier Filsaime and Derek Williams. You cannot play Jelani McDonald at star if you don't trust your other safeties.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, that is Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy proudly honors our brave military and first responders for everything you do to protect our nation and serve our local communities. We appreciate your unmatched dedication and countless sacrifices. And from October 19th through November 11th, Academy is giving you a salute with 10% off your Academy Sports and Outdoors purchases at your local store and online at academy.com/discount. Exclusions do apply. Was just at Academy yesterday getting some new pants for this frigid weather we're getting here in late October, early November. So we'll keep on going. Speaking of late October, early November, Texas did not play at home at all during the month of October. It's I looked it up, the third 5-week stretch where they did not have a home game since 1996. They did it in 97, right after Route 66. They did it in 2013 in Mac Brown's last year. And then it happened again this year. So after a long, long time away from DKR, they are glad to be playing in front of the home fans.
Yeah, it's been a tough stretch. Started off with a loss, then the emotional high, and maybe the season high of the OU game where you got to get up for that. Texas might have been the home team, but you still travel for that. And then Kentucky took a lot out of them there. That was a close game, too close for comfort. And then Mississippi State, we all know how that went. So they're emotionally drained and physically drained. They definitely need the pick me up of being at home, and simply just not traveling. It's good on the body, good on the mind. They're excited, and then you have the crowd noise, right? The offense always it's a tougher time on the road. Now the offense and defense be on the same page. Get the emotional push that the crowd should provide. Hopefully, they're still partying from the night before, and they're happy to be back. And I think it does add a little element, a little bit of boost, a little nitrous oxide, hopefully, for their system. And then they get a bye week, right? If they could just push through right now, they get a bye week, and it feels like if you can get a win out of here, all right, catch your breath, figure out what's working on offense, what isn't working on offense, and then just rejuvenate.
Yeah, it's the 2 bye week year is coming at the right time for Texas as it tries to make these college football playoff pushes. And it just has to do with, I think, Labor Day and Thanksgiving. So it's not a regularity. Maybe that's something they add over the course of the next few years with playoff expansion and all that. But Texas, I know, is glad to have that this year. A lot of other notes over on Inside Texas. Encourage y'all to go look at that there. But we got to get through one last segment, going through all 3 phases of Vanderbilt. Everybody knows about Pavia. Everybody knows about Stowers. There's a lot to that offense. There's also, but Texas feels like there's some advantages to be had there, and also some advantages to be had in the other 2 phases, namely special teams.
Yeah, if you want to start with special teams, we can. Here's the problem. Vanderbilt only punts 2 times a game. So you got to get them off the field third. That's where the team complementary football works together. You've got to get them off the field. You got to get them punting 3 and outs to help the offense. Everybody, Ryan Niblett has been a hero in the last 3 games. And is he going to get opportunities this game? That's the thing to watch for. If you can get Vanderbilt off the field and punting, which they don't do, they're 131st in the country in that regard, which seems like they should inverse that, right? The team that's punting 6 times a game should be lower, and Vandy should be up at the top. But given what Vanderbilt does on special teams, there's always something that Jeff Banks can find. There's always a wrinkle he can add to special teams. He's a true coordinator when it comes to special teams. He's scheming things up. They've got some things cooked up. They just need the opportunity. On defense, they've got to be physical at safety, physical at linebacker, up front, on the perimeter. Perimeter's huge for Vanderbilt. It's going to be big for Texas too. They've got to be physical up front. They've got to dominate. I think they did a really good job of physicality last year. That game was too close for comfort, but I think there were a couple missed opportunities that they could have capitalized. But Texas overall was a more physical team. They've got to do that again. They'll be in base defense, which a lot of times that's 3 defensive tackles, and that gives them another chance to be physical up front. So watch physicality on defense. On offense, what can you say? Is it, get the run game going? How likely is that? Why should I even bother mentioning that? Probably not. I think you got to get Wingo going, and I think you've got to exploit the perimeter. We saw Texas do that last year. Quinn Ewers made a living off the perimeter. That's how they jumped out to a lead. I think Texas has, again, if you talk about physicality on the perimeter, I think Texas has things that can exploit in that regard as well.
It should be a lot of fun. And remember, that game was kind of Texas to control, aside from like 4 total plays, 2 turnovers, and 2 great Pavia plays. That got Vanderbilt 21 points. 14 points. And
no, 24, 27,
yeah.
24. That game was too close for comfort. Texas could have blown it open on a couple different occasions. Kind of the story of last year, right? A lot of games were too close. They couldn't take advantage of in key moments. A&M game being another one. That game should have been a 30-point blowout. I'm already thinking about Aggies. But Texas just has to take advantage of their opportunities. They are the more physical team. They are the more athletic team. They've got to play like it. Now, can they play discipline? How many penalties are they going to have? I'd love to know that. I'd guess 9. It's bad when you know exactly where to go to find out how many penalties Texas had each week. So hopefully they play a more disciplined game too. If they do that, then Vanderbilt's in a lot of trouble.
If they're able to do that against literally the oldest team in the country, maybe outside of the service academies, would bode well for their chances to win. So we'll have a lot more over on Inside Texas. Make sure you go over there. It's that first link in our description. Sign up for just $1. You can join and get not only that, access to the best Texas Longhorns community, but the best Texas Longhorns intel, recruiting coverage, which now that November's around, going to start picking up, going to have some visitors on campus this weekend. If you'd like to join, also, you can just scan that QR code right there by Arch's head. So should be great time to join Inside Texas. Always a great time to join Inside Texas. Always great talking ball with you, Eric. Thank you for watching Inside the Program, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.